All right. Okay, so let's try to connect to. Let's use the front end as a Angular's ability to connect to services using JSON and all sorts of HTTP methods to retrieve, for instance, movies from a movie site, right? And we looked at this early on using just Angular within the mean stack. Right, let's try and reuse some of those ideas, but let's use it inside of the .NET stack, all right? ASP.NET, and instead of inserting into MongoDB, we'll be inserting into SQL Server. Okay, all right. Okay, so let's create here place where we can put experiments. So we'll put here, create a directory here. It'll be AngularJS and ASP.NET, ASPX. Okay. Did we look at repeaters? We did look at repeaters on Wednesday. Okay. All right. So we'll use repeaters here as well. Okay. So let's create here an ASPX, right? And here we're going to be we're going to use this page for searching for movies, right? And it's going to be very much what we've looked at so far using Angular, right? What we want to do is store those movies in SQL Server as opposed to MongoDB, right? So let's call this. We're going to be using this this website that we've looked at earlier. My API films. Yeah, we're going to be using this this website. I think we looked at this early on in the course, right? Did we use it last? Right. Okay. So let's rewrite some. Let's rewrite some of that. So film, what is it? My API films, my film search. Okay. And let me bring a Bootstrap real quick. So actually, we can. I think I have it locally. Let's see. Link, href, what one? I think it's way up here. CSS, bootstrap.css. Well, style sheet. And let me bring also Angular. I think that's where it is. Let me see. Okay, CSS, Bootstrap. There it is. Okay. And I'm going to bring also Angular, which is under JS, I believe. Angular min. Let's bring that. So script, source, go up 3 times, and then it's under JS, and then it's Angular min.js. I think. Yeah, okay. And let's see if this works. Let's see the class container, h1 film. So search for films. Okay. So let's run this, see if it works. Okay, it looks like it found the CSS and the JavaScript. So let's and we do have. Let's make this into an Angular application, right? Let's put it under. Let's see, where are we? We're under here, and we'll put it here. We'll say we'll create a JavaScript. We'll put our application. So app.js. And here we'll create an application using Angular's API. So it's Angular.module my film API app. My film app. How's that? And notice that I'm not going to use NGRoute. Okay, NGRoute deals with routing on the client side, right? It depending on the hash in the URL, it decides to navigate one place or another. In this case, it'll be the server who's going to be doing the routing, right? Depending on the navigation from one page to another, those pages are being actually posted right back to the server. The server is re-rendering those pages, right, and then giving it back to us. So really, NGRoute is not going to be used, right? We are actually going to be navigating from one page to another, as opposed to injecting those views into ngView, right? So no NGRoute. What else? Let's create a controller here for this page. So the page is called My Film Search. So I'll create a controller with the same name. So controller, we call it My Film Search, and this is a function. And the function, let me put it in a separate line. Let's say scope, and scope is going to say hello. Hello. Hello from controller. Right, and if this all works, let me declare here the app. We called it ng app. We called it, what is it we called it? My Film app. So let me copy that. Notice that the IDE is complaining, right, that it doesn't know this this attribute, right? It's parsing it and it doesn't know about it. It is not yet, right? This Visual Studio version is not yet integrated with AngularJS, right? But newer versions of Visual Studio are integrated, right? And so they're aware of these new attributes. They're aware of Bootstrap and whatnot. Okay, so so this page is going to be controlled by this controller. So I'm going to say ng controller, and I called it My Film Search. Actually, search and then CTRL controller. Paste. And it's going to want to say hello. So presumably it's going to inject the content here. Right? So let's refresh this. And it didn't work. Let's see what it's complaining about. Console. Oop. No. Injector module, My Film app. Okay, it doesn't find it. Really? My Film Search. Did we misspell it? ng app. There's Angular. My Film app. Oh, we didn't load the app. Right? It's under app.js, right? App.js. Okay, that worked. Okay, so it's working. All right, so what do we want to do? We want to go and fetch some movies, right? And now the movie has, this API has two main ways of searching. One of them is by title, and it returns all the movies that match that title, right? So it returns an array of movies, as opposed to this one. If you give me a specific ID, right, I'll retrieve that one movie. And we're gonna use both of them, right? So first, let's use this one where it allows you to search. So put avatar here, and I want up to 10 movies. And if you remember, we talked about this early on, that because we're doing this from a browser, the browser has some security constraints, right? And it's not allowed to go out to different domains from where it's being downloaded. Newer APIs allow you to do this, just plain old without JSON-P. But this particular server where this is being hosted does not allow you to strictly just directly go for JSON, right? So we need to use the hack, the JSON-P hack, right? which this site does support. It does support JSON-P. Yes. Yeah, cross-origin requests, right? So that's a newer server support course, right? Newer versions of Tomcat, I believe Tomcat 7 and beyond. Newer versions of WebSphere, WebLogic, they all support course. And basically what it is that the server, if you configure it right, will send back in the header. It'll send, access origin header, right? And there it will list where it's accepting requests from. If the requests come from these particular domains, then it will allow cross-origin requests. Okay, or like many of Google's and Yahoo's APIs, they put star. It says, I don't care where it comes from. I'm accepting requests from anywhere. Okay, so if it's from your laptop or from any any domain that you're deploying, they accept requests from anywhere. Or you can what the browser does is that it looks at the headers, right? If the header accepts the origin, the browser won't complain, right? The browser says, oh, okay, it's allowing, right, requests to come from anywhere, and it will let your JSON request go through directly without JSON-P, without having to do JSON-P. Older servers don't support this. Okay, and so the browser doesn't see the header, and it blocks the request. Okay, older browsers, right, don't even check for this, right? It'll let just go through. It won't enforce. They won't enforce the security constraint. Some versions of Firefox don't enforce constraints. Older versions of IE perhaps don't enforce constraints. Chrome has a plugin that you can configure to just ignore the security constraint. So you can just go right through using JSON without having to use JSON-P. But then you can't. I mean, you can use it like for developing, right? But if you deploy this, somebody else's browser might not have the same plugin, right? So it won't work on their browser, right? So yeah, so either use a server that supports course. All OpenShift servers support course, but you have to configure. You have to say, I want to support course, right? And you establish which origins. You can say star.star or star whatever. Heroku supports it. OpenShift, all major Azure supports it, right? But you have to turn it on. You have to say, yes, I want to support cross-origin requests. Okay. Where were we? Okay, so this one does not support it, right? So instead, it relies on a hack, the JSON-P hack, which works fine, right? They're fooling the browser into thinking that what they're doing is they're downloading not data. I'm not looking for data. I'm looking for a text file. I'm looking for a JavaScript script, and that the browser cannot stop you, right? Because the browser already supports downloading scripts from anywhere, right? And that's what the hack is based on, right? Anyway, so here we go. Let's look at the URL that we would be using, because that looks promising. Let me copy that. Copy the link. And from the controller, let's go fetch that. All right, let's remove that. We'll use HTTP to fetch that. And we'll do something like http.jsonp and the URL. We need the URL, right? There it is. And success. function, and here's a response. Okay, console.log response. For this to work, if you remember, there was one additional query parameter that you had to add for this to work, just because the way the hack works. The hack works by the JavaScript that gets downloaded dynamically. It's going to call a function on your on your end, right? It gets downloaded, and the first thing it does is just executes that function, right? But you have to tell it what the name of that function is, right? And the standard is that you provide it as follows. You say callback, and then the name of the function. Now, instead of being a hard-coded function, we're going to let Angular choose the name of that function, right? It will be Angular, so that in the back end, right, in its own compiling, right, it will create the function dynamically and pass that name of that function to in the query parameter, and so that when it downloads the function that it calls, it's this function. So we'll call it JSON callback. So what Angular is going to do is going to replace this placeholder with an actual function name. Okay. All right. So let's we're not going to just console. We're going to send it to the UI, right? So scope my films response. We'll pass it. We'll render it on the UI right here. Okay. All right. So let's go back to let's render that. Okay, there it is. So that's the array that comes from the request. If we look at what really came back, network, oops. Connect, negotiate, blah, 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 wait, transfer, look now. There it is. Okay, what really came back, if you notice, see, it's a function. See that? That's really was downloaded from my API films, right? It's a function. The name of the function, what was the name of the function? Angular.callbacks.0. So that Angular came up with that name. If we look at what really was sent, notice right here, see that? The callback? This is what it added. You know, it replaced the placeholder JSON, JSON_callback. It replaced it with a function name, right? A random function name that it comes up with, right? That it's guaranteed to be unique, right? Because it's going to create it. So the server, the way the protocol, the JSONP protocol works is that it will download a JavaScript with that function name invoked. So once it gets downloaded, this is as if we would have downloaded an actual script, right? And what happens when you download a script? It executes immediately. That's what JavaScript does, right? If you download any JavaScript, the first thing is that if there are any global variables, they're declared. If there's any global functions, they're declared. If there's any function calls, they are called, right? So this executes, and it passes us the data through a nice, convenient API through this success. All right, so we are completely unaware of these functions coming and going, right? That's all hidden from us by Angular. We just are notified through this success. And that's nice, right? So regardless of whether we do a post, a put, a get, a JSON, JSONP, the API is the same. Okay, it's very convenient, right, from a developer's point of view. Anyway, so we have that, and I mean we could render this using ng repeat. Let's do that. Table class table dash striped and PR, and here we're gonna iterate. So ng repeat I'm going to repeat over. So this is a film. My films. Now this JSON that came back, I want to see it. I could copy it and use one of several online JSON editors, just so I could see it hierarchically. So I can paste it here and have it on the right-hand side. I can see it. I can peruse through it, right? I can navigate and see what came back, and maybe I want to extract a couple things here. Maybe the plot, the title, maybe the URL, the poster, the ID, the remote ID. So let's retrieve those. So this is TD film.id IMDb, and we have a couple of things here, right? What else? The title, plot, and URL poster, right? So if we refresh, it didn't work. What happened? Oh, we do have the table at the bottom. We do have the table. I'm just gonna take this out then. Okay. All right. So we're working, and here this might be an image. So let's that is an image actually. So let's we can use an image for that, right? So we can say, IMG source is that. You can close this, make it smaller, and refresh. All right, there it is. So we have images, we have everything, right? Well, some of them don't have images. Okay, so notice that I'm getting some exception here. What is this? Poster, URL poster, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I think what's happening, response. Okay, let me take that out. Let's not do the console. Oh, I was editing the browser. Actually, Chrome has a nice feature that you can live edit the files, right on the browser, which is pretty cool, right? You can edit and refresh, and which is pretty cool. So Chrome becomes part of your IDE, kind of, right? Okay, what else is it complaining about? What is this? Resource, interpret as mime, text playing, IMDb, blah, blah, blah. Resource, interpret. Okay, it's not happy with the JSON-P. I think it's expecting text, but it's coming back as some other mime type. All right, that's fine. Let's go with that. All right, so what we want to do is also add the ability of searching, right? So let's put at the top maybe like a search bar. For that, let's you go to Bootstrap to grab one of their nice buttons. I think in components they have button groups that we can grab from here. We can use one of these button groups. Where are they? This one, like this go over here, right? So we can grab it here and add it to this. Maybe at the top. And so this would be text, placeholder, search for. Yep, very good. I think it wants a closest. Here's a button. I'll call it changes to do search. And we'll change it to be primary. And then we'll notify the controller. We'll say ng click search. And we'll pass this input field. We'll call it ng model film film title. I'm going to pass the title, the search, and declare the event handler over here. I'm going to say scope search, and we're going to receive the title, and then do this search only when we click on the search button, right? Notice how similar the two frameworks are, right? In ASP and NET, you have this like the code behind piece of it, right? But notice that we're doing something that we shouldn't, right? We're doing this network connection, right? And it's not reusable, right? So the same issue that we see in .NET, right? It's pervasive in all frameworks, right? You have to redesign this so that it's reusable. Yes.
What's the difference between source and source?
I'm sorry.
Why did you use source in the instead?
Source where? Where? I'm sorry.
You use SRC.
Yep.
The image type rather than NGSRC. Right?
Oh, where is it? You're for the images?
Yeah.
I use SRC. We should use NGSRC. Thank you.
But what's the difference?
So what happens is that this URL, the page first. Oh, wait a minute, let me close this. The page first loads, right? And so this is static. So Angular hasn't yet had a chance to compile and interpret the page, right? So the browser parses it before Angular parses it, right? And so this SRC, the browser is programmed that when it sees an SRC to start immediately downloading the image, right? And this doesn't yet have a value. It doesn't yet have a valid value because Angular hasn't had a chance to execute and interpret the page. So the browser is going to complain saying there is no such image, film.url poster, right? And you're going to get lots of complaints say file not found, file not found, file not found. What ng source does, it says, but first of all, there is no SRC, so the browser is not going to start downloading it, right? And so Angular, what it does is that it delegates to a later time, right, when it actually has had a chance to compile and interpret the page, to dynamically set the attribute source of this image, right, to whatever value now it has. Now that it knows what those URLs are, right, it has a chance to now go back and set dynamically the SRC attribute to those URLs. That makes sense?
It was not complaining before.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. I was looking for those complaints. I thought that's what it was complaining about. Nevertheless, it will work regardless. Console. Oh, that was the complaint. That was a complaint. Well, maybe not. Let's see. Let's search. Let's do an avatar. Let's do a search. Okay, there it is. So it's not complaining. Very good. Thank you. We fixed it. That was a complaint. Yes.
You put the JavaScript and you always put the CSS in separate files.
Yes.
But I saw some references.
You mean this?
It says they should always be embedded because otherwise it takes the page longer to load.
Yes, that is true. That is true. And also look where I put it, right? If you're going to link it like I am, right? Most people will put it at the bottom of the body, right? Depending how big your page is, right? How much content you have. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Yeah. To optimize, there's a couple of techniques for optimizing the speed in which it loads. First of all, notice that all this content is dynamic, right? So when the page first load, or when a spider comes in and takes a look at your content It's all JavaScript. There is no content, right? It would have to execute for the spider to even look at anything, right? Maybe there are no H1s, no links, nothing, right? Because it's all dynamic. It hasn't loaded yet. Spiders come in, look at this. There's no content. They leave. There's nothing to spider, right? So usually there's a combination of some static portion, right, where the page actually shows real content, right, so that it loads really fast, right, including JavaScript, including CSS, including actually what something we haven't looked at is that usually you don't have just one CSS. Usually you have many CSS, right? And you would have to, each one of it would be an independent request, right? You have to request one CSS, then another CSS, another CSS. Same thing with JavaScript. Usually you have lots of JavaScripts, right? And each one would be an independent request. So typically, what you do is there are builders, right, that will concatenate everything. We'll concatenate all your CSS, right? We'll concatenate all your JavaScript into a single file as opposed to many little files. It's much faster to download just one big CSS file or one big JavaScript. It's faster. Or even go beyond and replace, right, your source, right, with an actual include, right? It will include the actual file. It'll concatenate everything together, so it's one big file, right? So that everything gets downloaded all at once instead of having many little requests, right? Again, that's a lot of techniques for optimizing the even though this is bad HTML, right? It's not supposed to be here. It's supposed to be up there in the header, right? Over here, we have to put it down here again to that 1 nanosecond or millisecond that it could be the difference of somebody just leaving and not staying, right? And this just moving away from your page. I think Amazon calculated, how many millions it costed them each, millisecond of page load. Every millisecond of page load costed them so many millions of dollars in lost business.
Also, some servers will automatically embed those files before they serve them. They see
Right. Yes.
scripts that some of them will embed them, but some won't. They didn't say who.
Yeah, there's tons of companies that will cache your pages, right? So what you're looking at is never really something that is that's running dynamically, but it's something that has been already compiled, right? That is static, so it loads really fast. Avid does this, right? There's this. There's quite a few companies that what they do is they put the server as close as possible.
Or a script
Yep.
like that, they'll put the thing in before they
Yep.
send the whole thing.
Yeah.
So you get it just as one.
Yeah.
That they're automatic.
Yeah.
It didn't say who.
Yeah, no, but there's tons of these companies that what they're doing is they put their servers very. Maybe the client who's really is creating the product it's only one company, right, that has maybe a couple of servers to serve this up. But if you really want to scale this to the entire United States or the entire world, you really need to go to these other companies where they have these farmer machines that are very close to geographical areas, and they're hosting you, right? And they have all sorts of these techniques for speeding up the download. They'll cache everything, right? Makes sure that they reduce the time it takes for a page to load. Anyway, that's a completely separate science. Where were we? Search. Okay, so search. So here's the title. So here what we're going to do is that we're going to replace the title. Instead of this being a hard-coded avatar, we're going to say film title, right? And we're going to, so that's the URL. That is the URL. Wait. URL. So let's post this here somewhere. We'll say that's my URL. And what I'm going to send, what I'm really going to send to them is that URL replacing the film title with the actual title that you want me to search for. Make sense? Right. So if I go back and I refresh this and I search for Star Trek, I get Star Trek movies, right? Or if I have Star Wars, I get Star Wars movies, right? Maybe. Hello? All right, there they are. Star Wars: A New Hope. They're all coming out today. All the digitally mastered and on iTunes. Clones. Star Wars Detours. Star Wars 9? Episode 9. Really? Anyway, but say I want to see. Let's improve this a little bit, right? Kind of like applying like the DAO pattern that we looked at last week. There's another pattern called the service pattern, right? Where instead of hard coding this here, instead of hard coding it in the controller, we're gonna put it in a service that it can be shared across many controllers, right? So let's declare a service here. We'll say app.factory. We'll call it my film service. So the function, and this is going to need HTTP. And we're just going to move this. We're going to move this over. I'm going to put it in here and say var find film by title. So it's a function that takes a title and it uses this right. The URL could be hard coded over here, and maybe the URL should be called find film by title, right? And the function takes a title as an argument, and a success. What it does is just we're going to pass it instead of this being hard coded. We're going to have it a parameter. We're going to say callback, and this function will be the callback, right? Callback. So the controller, the only thing the controller does is that it uses that service. Paste that there. It uses that service. Not using HTTP anymore. It uses a service to make the call. So my film services dot find by title. It passes a title. Right. It passes a title. And in the callback, the function, this is the callback. This function is the callback. Right? That is the callback. Let's see if I broke it. Titanic. Oh, I have an error here. What's going on? Wait. Let's just say Angular, blah, 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 blah. My film service. You can't find my film service. My film service. Oh, I need to return the API, right? I need to return the API, which is this. See? Okay, looks like it's right. We'll try aliens. No? Okay. All right, there it is. So say we go to a detail page, right? Like part of the requirements for this is that we want a details page. So let's link this. That if I click on the title, right? If I click on the title, href, I'm going to go to my film details, .aspx. Yes? And I'm going to pass as argument the ID IMDb, which I have right here. I'm going to close that, and it's going to be my title. There it is. Right, so let's refresh this, and Titanic. Okay, so there it is. So now notice that it's a link, right? Oh, wait, did it complain? No. So it's a link, and I'm going to click on that, and there is no my film details. So let's create it. So let's create here a page. Oh. Called ASPX, right, with the code behind. All right, so here, let me copy some of the top of the. Oh, where do I put it? Down below. I know it's faster if I put it down there, but it's weird to me to put it down there. So I'm gonna keep it here. All right, so and this one's gonna have a control of its own, right? A controller of its own. Let's create a controller for this particular page. It's gonna be function. Wait. Oh wait, no, sorry. App.controller, and for that page is gonna be called my film details controller. What did I call the other one? CTRL. And this is going to be the function that's going to use the scope. All right. So I need to grab this, right? The IDMDB, right? One thing that we forgot, this is not going to work unless it has a hash in front of it. It has a hash. Let's add that. Let's go back to our search, and in our URL before the question mark, we're going to use a hash so that Angular can parse it, right? So Angular can parse it. Angular is only concerned with anything under the after the hash, the routing, right? Parsing any queries, right? Everything after the hash. So let's go back to. So anyways, it's this, right? Let's grab the hash. So it says var parameters is equal to location. Location is another service that allows me to interact with the path, right? So this is location. So location dot search, that returns a map of all the URL parameters in the query string. And let's do console.log parameters. If I refresh, wait, is this the console? Oh, I didn't in the details. I never made this into an Angular application. That's another thing. That's another difference, right? In Angular, you declare the application once, right? Because it's a single page application, right? It gets loaded in the index page, right? You declare an ng view, and then all the controllers for each one of the partials. Yes, partial views. Over here, the views are different, right? They're actual physical files, right? That are being downloaded and interpreted independently from each other, right? They don't know anything about each other, right? These pages don't know anything. They're not being hosted in a larger page, right? Because they're independent, we do need to, right? Redeclare, right? Redeclare the app, and redeclare the controller that we're going to use for that. So let me go there and do that. And the controller is not this, it's my film details, right? And just to make sure that this is working, I'm going to send back the ID IMDb that I'm going to parse from the URL. Okay, so let's refresh. There it is. See that? That's the map. That's the map that contains all the all the name value pairs that are in the query string. I want this one. So let's retrieve that. So let's see, var ID. No, I'm going to send it to the UI. Scope.id IMDb is parameters sub ID IMDb. Right, it's this one I want. And refresh. There it is. All right, so I do have it. I do have it. Let me put a title here. This is H1 my film details. All right, so what are we going to do with that? Now that we have the ID IMDb, we're going to use the service again, right? Again, just like in ASP.NET, right? In the control, in the code behind, even though we could do it here, right? We should resist that, right? The temptation to access any data, right? It should not be in the controller. We should use a service, right? A reusable service that can be used across many controllers. So here's a service, right? I'm going to use that service, which now is being shared amongst two controllers, the film details controller and the film search controller. They both are using my film service. One is searching all the movies based on a title. This one's going to be searching one movie based on the IMDb. So what I want to be able to do is something like this. I like to do my film service, right? Search or find film by ID IMDb, right? I'm going to pass as an argument the ID IMDb, or the parameter, and it's going to pass me back, hopefully, successful, is going to pass me the film, right? And if the film comes back, we're going to send it to the UI. Okay, right? Now this function doesn't exist, so I'm going to write it. It's going to be part of my new API, right? And the function is going to be very similar to this one. Okay, but it's going to be called that. It's going to take as argument an ID IMDb. And the URL is going to be different, right? The URL is going to be different. It's I need a new URL. It's going to be called something like find film by ID IMDb. But this is not the URL. Let's go find a URL, right? Let's go find what the URL would be, which is up here. Example IMDb ID. Let's see, do we have an ID? Yeah, that's an ID. Let's paste it there. And let's search. So that's the URL, right? And we get one single object back. Notice that it's not an array, right? It's one single object. So I'm going to copy that address, and that's going to be my new URL. I'm going to keep the callback. Oops. And also, I am going to replace the hard-coded ID. I'm going to replace it with a placeholder, film ID IMDb. So my new function, find by ID IMDb, is going to use this URL, that URL instead, right? And it's going to replace the ID IMDb with the ID IMDb that we're passing as an argument. Make sense? It's going to call success callback. And hopefully, let's see what this looks like. So let's refresh this. And something went wrong. What? Console, what happened? Console, blah, 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 blah. Unexpected colon. Did I mistype it? Call back. Unexpected token. Network. Get. Oh, sorry. ID negotiate, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's what's coming back, right? One object. Oh, I might have some weird characters in here. It had to be Titanic. Let's see. Let me search for something else. Let me see. If this is Star Wars. Okay, Star Wars. If I click on that. No, I get the same error. Uncaught syntax error, blah, blah, blah. IDMDB. Incorrect ID IMDb. Incorrect. Oh. Wait a minute. No, I think this is something else. Let's refresh. Star Trek. Let's click on that. Okay, I do have a T, right? And this is what's coming back. There's something with the colon. Colon, where? JSON P, callback, replace, film. This is valid data that's coming back. Uncut syntax error, unexpected colon. Really? We paste it here. See if this guy complains. Well, he's not complaining. Let's see. New JavaScript. Data.javascript. Paste it. Okay, let's see if there's a colon. There's some weird colon. Oh. These colons? What's wrong with those colons? Var data equal that. Semicolon. See any issues with that, the data? I don't see anything wrong. Let me copy the actual data that's coming back. This copy. What is that? Var data equal and paste it. Okay, Visual Studio seems that it's okay. Huh. Save it. App. JSON P, film by ID. Replace film ID, blah, 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 ID IMDb, ID IMDb. Callback, and then what are we doing here? Let's go film, IMDb, blah, 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 blah. Let's refresh. It really doesn't like the JSON that's coming back. Right? Can we parse it? Let's see if we can parse it. We'll do function. Start calling that callback. Let's see if we could do something here. So this is the response. Response. What if we print it out here? What happens? Okay, it's still. Can I parse it? Can I say JSON.parse response bar object? Oh. Wow. Unexpected colon. Wait, is it the name? Did I mess up the URL? Callback equals JSON callback. No, that's fine. Let me see. Is it this one? That's this one. The data's coming fine. The header is going is callback equal angular dot callbacks dot something or other. And the preview is fine. This is the data that's coming back. It's not complaining about that. What is wrong? IMDb, blah, blah, blah.
Format should be JSON.
I'm sorry?
And format equals JSON for the callback.
Oh. Thank you. Thank you. No, it's worse. Okay, no, well, the URL might be completely different. Let's go back and ask it for the, okay, so JSON P, give me the correct URL. Okay, let's copy this. Copy the link. Yeah, this is a typical what is called a copy paste error, right? That's why I often do things from scratch. I don't like oh, where were we yesterday? And I copied something. Let's reuse something. Ugh. Okay, so fine, blah blah blah. I'm just gonna paste it here, and it is JSONP, right? B blah 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 for my JSONP. Okay, and I'm gonna add the callback, and this is gonna be film title and ampersand callback equal JSON callback. All right. Let's see. Let's try this again. Wait a minute. Angular app.js. Wait, what? Resource, blah, blah, blah. Object parse. Okay, no, I don't want to do that. Back. JSON parse. Right now. I'm just going to call the callback here. Okay, and once I get the callback, what are we doing? We're sending that to the UI. Maybe. Yes? No? Did I save it? Scope films. Oh, did I print it in the UI? Oh, okay. Film, right? Incorrect IMDb ID. Urgh. So that's not a correct IMDb? Isn't that what I used here? Let me see. What's going out there? Oh, it didn't replace it. It didn't replace it. Why didn't it replace it? Let's see. Fine, blah, blah, blah. Replace title, and this is replace. Oh, is that what we used? Okay. Refresh. There we go. We got an object. Okay. All right. Let's render this in the details here. So what we're going to do is we're going to render it. Now we can render it. What we're going to do is that we're going to render it as using ASP as opposed to rendering it as just plain old HTML. And what this allows us to do is maybe change the title. Maybe we don't want the original title. It allows us to add buttons that will allow us to invoke, ASP buttons that communicate with the code behind. So let's use ASP colon label, and the label this is going to be ID to put the title in here. So let's call it title. Title label runs on the server, and actually no, not the label. Let's use text box. Text box. This is title box. Run at server. What else? What else do we need? We need to populate it with something. So let's populate it with. We're going to use ngModel, right, to populate the value of it, because this is going to render how? This is going to render like a plain old input field, right? In our browser, the browser is going to see just an input field, a regular input field. So by the time it gets to the browser, it's just a plain old input field, right? As if we would have used just a plain old input field, right? The browser doesn't know that this is coming from ASPX. It doesn't care, right? It just sees the input field. And now it's Angular's turn to parse the ngModel attribute. It says, oh, what do you want me to put in there? You want me to put the title, right? Okay. So let's try that. Okay, there it is. So here's my text box, right? My text box with the value Star Trek, the title of the movie, right? We can make this a little prettier. We can use Bootstrap's forms for this. Forms. And let's just grab one of these group forms. So maybe we can make this a little prettier. And so instead of this input field, we're going to replace this with a text area, with a text box here. Here we go. And the label for this will be title. Okay. And I'm going to put this down below just for debugging purposes. What else do we want to display? Maybe we want to display the plot. We'll call this plot box, and the ngModel will be film plot, right? What else do we want to display? I'm sorry? Oh yeah, 4, right? And then what else did we have? URL. Oh, we want to keep track of the URL poster, right? So we'll call this poster, and then we'll call this poster box. And this will be ngm. I think it's called URL poster. And the ID. Let's put the ID here as well. ID. Well, this is the ID IMDb. So we'll call this the ID IMDb box. And it's going to populate by ID IMDb. Let's refresh. Okay. All right. So it populated, except the poster. Did I misspell it? I thought it was URL poster. Oh, maybe this one doesn't have a URL poster. Maybe it doesn't have a poster. But why didn't it render? What am I missing? In Bootstrap, what am I missing? Oh, it has to be in a form? Really? Oh, forms can't be inside of forms, right? In Bootstrap. Can I just put it inside of a div? Maybe it needs to be inside of a div. Oops. Why is it not rendering? Oh, I'm missing also painting this in the correct CSS, right? In the correct CSS. All these text boxes really should be what? Form controls, right? CSS form control. Probably that's what I'm missing. Copy all of these. That one, and then this one. Refresh. All right, that looks much better. That looks much better. So say I'm looking at the details here, maybe the plot is a very long plot. So the plot we might use text mode to be multi-line. So it's a text area instead, right? So it's something bigger if the plot is bigger. So the user might want to like this movie, right? Or rate it, give it a rating or a review or something like that, right? So I'm looking at details. And so I might put here a button. Let's add a button here. And so we'll put it maybe rating, maybe a rating. And this will be rating box. And so we'll call this film rating. Although, wait, is there a rating? Probably there's a rating, isn't there? There's a rated. Is there? Rating. Okay, has a rating. All right, maybe not rating. Stars. How's that? Something that's our own, right? Or comments. Maybe I want to add a comment. Is there comments? Something of my own, right? That I want to remember something, right? And I'll call this comments. Right. So now notice comment is at first it's empty. It's something that I want to add, and finally at the end, I want to add a button. That this is the like. No for. And here what we're going to do is we'll put a button, ASP : button ID like button. Run at server and class button primary button block. And the text is like. Right, where at the end, right, I can comment, right, and then I can like this, right. This will go and we'll have to put in some database, right, to associate to some user, the currently logged in user, right. That's a completely different issue, right. So let's fake that there's a user with a particular ID, right, and we're going to associate this movie to that user. Okay, so let's do that. So what I'd like to be able to do is in the back, in the code behind, what I'd like to be able to do, if you click on that button, where's that button? If you click on that button, right, on click, right, in the event handler, that's the event handler, right? What I'd like to be able to do is use a DAO, some kind of database access, to be able to insert this new movie and say that this person likes this movie and this is the comment they made on it. All right. So let's create this film DAO, which doesn't exist. I don't think. I don't remember creating it. So we have to grab all the data that we want to store in the database, right? So let's grab. Presumably we have a film object. Oops. Film. New film. And we can populate, right? We can populate the ID IMDb from the front end, right? Which is, there's an ID IMDb box.text, right? And film dot title ID IMDb. No, wait, title. What is it? Title box? They didn't create a title box? Really? Title. Oh, I didn't name it. Okay. So title box.text. I'm creating an object instance, right, that has all this information, my data model, which then I will give it to the DAO to insert into a database. Yes? Film doesn't exist. Film DAO doesn't exist. Once I've populated this, I like to do DAO dot create film and pass film. Or maybe not create. User likes film. Okay, and the user, maybe I'll give it a user ID, maybe 1, 2, 3, and the film object that they like. Okay, so let's see how we would do this. Let's see how we would do this. Let's see. First, we need the DAO, right? Well, actually, we need the film also, right? The film class. Let's create a film class. Let's go to experiments 45. 5610. We'll create a film. Oop. New item class, and we'll call it film. And this has all the attributes, right? It has let's see, it has a public string ID IMDb ID IMDb set get public string, what else? Title get public string plot set get public string URL poster set get. And what about the comment? Where would the comment go? Probably won't be here, right? All right. Or the fact that this is being liked by a user. Would this be stored here? It's not. It's not part of the object, right? The object, right? That's part of what? It's part of the relationship between the user and the film, right? If I make a comment or I like something, that's part of the relationship, right, between a user and a film. It doesn't belong to the film, and it doesn't belong to the user. It belongs to the relationship between the film and the user, right? So it doesn't belong here. So let's not put it here. Public film, and here we'll have the ID, the title, the poster, the plot, and the URL poster. So in this, we'll copy the ID IMDb. We'll copy the this title P, this plot equal P, and this URL equal U. All right, so here we're populating all these things, right? So film dot what else? Title URL poster is URL poster. Did I not create one? Ugh. What's URL? Oh, poster I called it. Poster box. Text. Oh, it doesn't see it. Why don't you see it? You do see it. Okay, what else? Plot, right? Film dot plot equal plot box text. What is wrong with my my autocomplete? Anyway, okay, so user likes film. So we need the DAO, right? So let's go and create the DAO, right? Let's create the DAO. And the DAO, we're going to need that. So let's create that. So let's go here, add item, a class, and it'll be film DAO. And here we're going to have a function, void, that takes as argument an integer user ID and the actual film. So first of all, let's create the film. Let's create the film, right? So for that, we're going to need SQL to insert, right? So SQL, we'll need that library. So using system dot data dot SQL client. So we create SQL connection equal new SQL connection, and the URL for the data connection that we're going to be using is this one over here. And we can look at the properties. Here's the data connection. And this is how we did it last time, right? Okay. One thing we might want to do, right, is to wrap this inside of a using clause, right? A using clause, I know we didn't do that last week. It's going to make sure that that the scope of this object, what am I missing? Oh. The scope of this object that's being instantiated is only within this curly bracket, right? And what it'll do is that automatically at the end of the scope of this using clause, it will clean up, right? It'll make sure that all these resources are released, as opposed to you explicitly having to release them, or eventually they're being released automatically. So that's that. Another one is the command, right? To do the command, we're going to also use a using. So you know, SQL command from the connection. We're going to create the command instead of a using. Again, it'll be automatically disposed of. So in here, we're ready to start the connection. Actually, we can create the connection here, right? We say connection dot open. And remember that we need to remember to close it, right? We need to remember to close it. So to remember to close it, we could close it out here, right? We could say connection.close. The problem is that if we are interacting with the database and something wrong happens, right? We throw an exception or something goes wrong, right? We're gonna get kicked out of this function prematurely, right? So we might not get to close the connection if something goes wrong, right? So instead, Typically, what we might want to do is put this in a try catch. Whatever. And then to make sure that that connection closing, right, happens regardless of whether this was successful or not, right? We can use a finally clause to make sure that no matter how you're leaving this function, whether successfully or not, I want you to call this close, right? Okay, so finally guarantees that this will be called, right, no matter what. Okay. Anyway, so here we can do some set the, what do we want to do? We want to set the text, right? We're going to insert the movie. Well, really, what should we do? We should really see if the movie's already there, right? Because somebody might already like this movie. Yes? If somebody already liked the movie, we're not going to recreate this movie instance, right? The only thing we want to do is create the linkage between user and the movie. But let's create it, right? So let's insert into film the ID. So the fields of the movie table we'll use the ID IMDb as the primary key. Okay, so that is the primary key. The title, the plot, and the URL poster. Right, and then the values that we're going to provide are the ones that we pass as an argument. Right, so this will be the same. I'm going to use the same exact names, but these are parameters. Right. These are all parameters. And now we have to configure those parameters from the film that we're passing as an argument, right? So we're going to say command.parameters.add new SQL parameter for IMDb, ID IMDb. We're going to use in the film that we're passing as an argument, film.ID IMDb. So yeah, so we parameterize that, and let's parameterize all the other ones, right? So we're going to do the same thing for title, plot, and for poster. We're going to do insert, and we're going to execute this, right? We're going to do command.execute. So it's not a query, right? We're not asking to see what it is. We're just going to do execute.query. So presumably that makes the insertion, right? And then we're done, right? The thing is that we don't have a film table. We don't have a film table in the database. I don't believe so. Yeah, we don't have a film table. We have a movie table we're using, but that one's let's create one real quick here. And we'll call it film. And instead of using this ID, we'll use the ID IMDb as a primary key, right? So that's what? That's so ID IMDb, and it's going to be varchar. Okay, and it's a primary key. And notice that I'm not using identity because this is not going to be automatically selected by the database. I am providing the primary key. Okay, I am giving you the primary key. And all the other ones are also varchar. So here's the title, also varchar, and the plot, varchar max, so enough space to hold that, and then URL poster. We might need some space for the URL. The URL might be fairly big. I think those are the only 4 things that we're storing, right? So we're going to save that. We're going to update. Okay, so we have that. Let's refresh. So films here, we look at the data. There's nothing in it right now because we haven't inserted anything yet. Okay. Let's see. All right, so let's look at let's actually run this, right, and see if the movie actually gets created, right? So well, there's no poster, and here's my comment. And I'm going to click on like and see if this blows up. Okay, it didn't blow up. Let's see if it actually inserted anything. All right, so it looks like it inserted. Something went wrong with the title. The plot is there, and the URL poster. Let's see what happened to the title. Why didn't that work? We didn't have a title? Yeah, we did have a title. What's going on? Let's go back to our details, ASPX. And let's see, title box, text, and URL poster. Wonder what happened. We see the DAO. IMDb, title, plot, URL. IMDb, title, plot, post, URL poster. We say IMDb, title, plot, poster. Why did the title work? Let me do another one. Pirates. Okay, no Pirates of the Caribbean. The Ice Pirates. Okay. There's a plot. Let me like this. Did it make it in there? Data, let's refresh. Oh, it worked. Wonder why the title didn't go through here. Oh wait, the plot is unknown at this time? Well, I think I was looking at the wrong film. Let's try it again. Money. Okay, Moneyball. Okay, title is there. Plot. Like. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Okay. Anyway, one of the things that we might do is that after inserting and liking it, perhaps we might want to go back to the search, right? And if we go back to the search here, where is it? In the details, we might do something like, let's go back to the search. We can do response dot redirect. Why is my autocomplete not working? Response redirect. Let's go back to my film search. Is it? ASPX. Is that what it's called? My film details. No, my film search.aspx. Okay. So that when we go back here, right? Perhaps, me as the currently logged in user, we might display all the movies that I liked so far, right? So I could put maybe towards the top, right? Towards the top, right above the search, in my profile, right? I could show maybe use a repeater to show all the movies that I've liked so far, right? So we could use repeater ID movie repeater item template, right? And the item template will iterate over the movies that I liked and display, their title, for instance. So eval title, right? What don't you like here? ASP element, ASP is missing required attribute. Oh, run it. Okay. So that means that in the page load of my film search, where is it? Movie search. Oh, is this it? Yeah. So in the page load of here, what we might want to do is use the DAO, the one we've been using so far, film DAO, new film DAO, right, to retrieve find all movies. right? Final movies, and send that to the repeater. Repeat. What do we call it? Film repeater. Movie repeater. Okay, so let's call it film repeater. Film repeater. Send that to the data. So dot data source, and that bind, right? So film repeater dot data bind. Wait, did I not call it correctly? Film repeater. That's correct. Film search. Oh, I'm using the wrong one. That's not the place. Where is it? Oh, I'm using the wrong. It's this one. Film search, right? Huh? Okay, it's here. Sorry. There we go. DAO. That's my film. What do we call it? Film DAO. Is that what I call it? There we go. DAO. New film DAO. Okay, there it is. So yeah, film DAO doesn't exist, and we can say generate the method stub. So that's going to go into the DAO. There it is. Right, it creates the stub for me. There it is. Final movies, right? And what I wanted to return is a list of films, right? And for that, we're going to use something very similar to this. Command text all the way down to here. Right, I'm just going to paste it here. Close a try. Catch. Exception E. I'm going to ignore it for now. And finally, we're going to close the connection. That closed. So the command text is what? It's going to select everything, right? So it's going to say select star from film. Well, what do I call it? Film? Film. Right? And then iterate over this, right? Iterate, while, execute, sorry, command dot execute reader. So this is SQL data reader. And then we can say while reader, dot read, instantiate each one of these movies. No? So film, new film, and then populate each one of these, right? So film that ID IMDb is equal to string of reader ID IMDb plus all the other ones, right? So this is title, this is plot, and this is URL string. And add it to all my films. So I'm going to create here a list of films. New list of films. And I'm going to append it. What's this URL? Oh, this URL poster. And this will be films. Add film, right? And then return at the end. Oh wait, I need to close something here. Let's return here. Return films. I need to close a couple things here. And close. I think that's it, right? And what's this? What's it saying? Not all code. Oh, so this might have return null. If there's an exception, right? and we're not going to return this. We're not going to return the films, right? So it's going to jump here and return null. All right, let's see. If I refresh here, it didn't work. What happened? My film search is this one, page load, find all movies, page load, film repeater, film repeat, my film search. That's right. Eval title, run server. What is it?
You should do the whole process to get the IMDb what you want, and then you just refresh the certificate.
Yeah, but the data is already there. The data has already 3, right? So it should return these guys, no? Did I open the connection? I did, right? Did I forget to open the connection? Film DAO, film search, ASPX, DAO. Here's the DAO. Find all movies, connection, command, open, command, text, select star from film. That is correct, right? That is the name of the table, right? And it is connecting to the same thing, right? The same connection. Oh, we're out of time. But anyway, you see how you could use, right, the Angular to, right, connect and search and whatnot, and use that dynamic portion, right? And you can still interact with ASPX, right, by using the some of these controls, and you can populate those values. They get posted back to the server just the same, okay? Just that the data is being populated by another framework. So the framework is populating those things, and they get posted back to the server. All right. All right, see it here. Let me stop broadcasting.